And now, please join us for a special report on BBC News.
One step beyond.
It's a bit high, isn't it, Nigel? Oh, hello. Blake Fuller here, BBC Special Reports, Eye on History. We got a special programme for you tonight, but I can't tell you what it is. It's a bit of a secret. But I am standing here on the banks of the mighty Nile River in Egypt. So pay attention, lads. Recognize that I'm standing in front of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is to introduce our program tonight. You see, what is history? Isn't that only about 50% of the story, his story? Well, tonight at BBC, we're going to remedy the situation and we're going to present her story of the world, part 1. Enjoy.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, today is a very special day. Today our show will feature one of the most famous women in world's Herstory. Let's welcome the ghost of Herstory.
I was one of the most powerful and impactful female pharaoh in the ancient Egypt.
We all are very honored to have you here today. We would like to learn more about you in order to raise your awareness and acknowledge the significance of women in Herstory.
Oh, thank you for having me here. Ask me anything.
Before we move on to the questions, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. I was born around 1504 BC and died in 1458 BC at the age of 50. My parents are Dusmor first, and his consort Amor. I married my half-brother Dusmor II, and I had a daughter, Neferurir.
Great, let's start off with the questions that everyone is wanting to know about. How did you become a pharaoh?
You shall be the next pharaoh. I believe that you will be as good as me. Egypt shall be good in your.
In 1493, my stepbrother, aka my husband, became the pharaoh.
Long live the king!
We had a daughter, and we were having a stage of life, so we couldn't have a son.
It's a girl? A girl?
exactly who did the crown pass to? Oh, the crown passed to Nefertari, my nephew. He was the son of my husband's second wife.
Became the pharaoh at a very young age since his father passed away. Young little Dusmor III couldn't handle things well. So I gotta do something or this kingdom wouldn't last long.
Dusmor III? I think that's the wonderful nickname like your father. But I think you're too young and naughty to be a proper king. So just gonna be the new king of this kingdom.
Incredible! Such a bold but powerful decision that you have made. Your impacts couldn't be denied even after several attempts of removing your legacy from history. Next up, our viewers are curious about what did you do during your reign.
Let me remember. As a pharaoh, I have begun to make a name of myself on the merit of my year of reign.
Would you tell us exactly what you do?
Oh my dear people, which one would you like to do first?
The best thing always goes first, right?
Alright, as you people all know, I am the longest woman ruler in Egypt, 20 years, for the long journey. Alright, I was an excellent architecture.
I started by building 2 monuments in the Great Temple complex in Karnak that are each 100 feet tall. They were the highest structure in the world at the time. However, the enormous memorial temple at Deir Bahi, which is regarded as one of the architectural wonders of ancient Egypt, is my finest accomplishment. My temple comprised the temple of Amen, the ruler of the gods, Anubis, the god of death, Hathor, and the goddess of fertility. It's also painted with scenes commemorating my reign achievements.
That's amazing! You are a great pharaoh.
Thank you, my people.
Wait, I was curious about the land of Punt.
Yeah, that wonderful land. I came in 1493 BC. What do you want to know about it?
I think we already knew about the land of Punt served as commercial hub and prehistory behind.
Wow, you people are really good at history. It is near the East African coast, across the southernmost point of the Red Sea.
The land of Punt is well known for producing and exporting animal, black wood, ebony, gold, and other materials.
Look at that land! It's very good for agriculture, and this river too. Oh my god! The land of Punt is way better than what I thought.
The planning for this land exploration received my approval and I monitored it. Ebony, obsidian, animal, and frankincense were sent from the Punt back to Egypt in return for linen, grain, and Egyptian papyrus.
Great! No wonder you were considered one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. Now let's end this show with the last questions. How did your life end?
Before, I could feel pain in my bones. It was light and not worth much attention, but it got worse every day. I could feel my hand and legs go limp. My bones were painful and swollen. I even felt it swell from within my body. It was killing me every day, but I must stand still for my kingdom until I couldn't handle this anymore and fell. And I was diagnosed with bone cancer, which was what people call it nowadays, but back then there was no result for my pain.
I feel really bad for you.
Thank you, my people. Time flies.
May I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Do you still remember where the people buried you?
Based on what I remember, it was in the Valley of the King, located in the hills behind Deir Bahi.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Alright, here's a bit of information for your noggins. Right about here is a chamber, a void in the pyramid. See, outside the pyramid, they put all kinds of contraptions that bombard the pyramid with subatomic particles. And they figured out there's a void right there. Now what is in there? What is in there? Could it be a repository of ancient knowledge? Could it be a tomb perhaps? Or maybe it's just where they kept the brooms and the mops. Who knows? But soon enough, hopefully, we will find out. Back to the program.
Nefertiti and Cleopatra are ancient Egypt's two most iconic and powerful queens. Both women are known for their beauty, intelligence, and leadership skills. Nefertiti, who lived in the 14th century BC, is known for her significant role in Egypt's religion with her husband, Amenhotep IV. He introduced a new monotheistic god called Aten, while Cleopatra, who lived in the 1st century BC, was famous for her political prowess and her love affair with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Despite living more than a millennium apart, both queens left the mark on Egyptian and world history.
Although Nefertiti is thought to have been born about 1370 BC, it is still unclear who her parents were. Although no one is certain about her parents' identities, there are so many suggestions. The theory that is most frequently accepted states that she was the daughter of a prominent Egyptian advisor who would later succeed the king Tut as king.
The mysterious life and reign of Egypt Queen Nefertiti, who was a political revolutionary, a beauty icon, and possibly even a pharaoh. She and her husband, Amenhotep IV, set up a new religion that gave them absolute power over the subjects, which caused confusion in Egyptian history. The article also explored different theories about Nefertiti's origins and her marriage to Amenhotep, as well as their children and palaces.
Her husband was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who reigned from 1353 BC to 1336 BC. Akhenaten and Nefertiti together changed Egypt's religion to worship the sun god Aten. The couple created a new capital called Amarna and shut down the temple of old god. They designated themselves as the only two priests of Aten.
Because of changes in their religion, King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti took all their valuables from the temples that they closed and built a new city, named Amarna. The new city was guarded by an elite royal army. Here, Akhenaten and Nefertiti lived in happiness and wealth, ignoring the people starving. As the queen herself, Nefertiti had to give birth to the king and the prince to inherit the throne. But during 12 years of marriage, she gave birth to all 7 children. But unluckily, all of them are girls. This disappointed King Akhenaten. Then he married another wife named Kia, and this wife gave birth to King Akhenaten, a prince named Tutankhamun.
After Akhenaten's death, Egypt experienced a period of instability and turmoil. Many of the reforms that Akhenaten and Nefertiti made, such as the worship of the god Aten, were disputed and eventually abandoned.
After Akhenaten's death, historical records of Nefertiti ceased to exist. It is theorized that Nefertiti's legacy was erased because of political turmoil to the religious and political change that she and Akhenaten introduced during their reign. Their daughter, Meritaten, may have played an important role in maintaining their influence by holding a position of power, either as Akhenaten consort or as co-regent under the name of Menkaure. However, in early 2012, an inscription on the rock face was found at an ancient quarry in Amarna that mentions Nefertiti's name and her position as great royal wife. Based on this inscription, Nefertiti survived after her husband's death in the 17th year of his reign. Nefertiti reigned herself for a short period following Akhenaten's death.
In the early days of her rule, to make up for what King Akhenaten had caused by allowing the Egyptians to worship another god as before, but it was too late. Many enemies are always trying to bring her down and try to assassinate her.
The life of this woman is the subject of numerous contentious debates. While it is undeniable that she relied on strength of argument to get what she needed, she also possesses the necessary skills and knowledge to make her goals a reality.
So, that is Nefertiti's life with many outstanding events, and now we will introduce to you another character named Cleopatra.
I'm sitting here in front of the famous Library of Alexandria, although, it kind of looks like a lighthouse. This iconic structure was standing during the time of Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, one of the Ptolemies. She was Greek. And here is our next chapter. Enjoy.
Cleopatra belonged to the Ptolemaic dynasty and ruled for 3 long centuries. Their period were marked by many intrigue, marriage, and murder among the family members. A family originally from Macedonia and the Ptolemies ruled Egypt.
Cleopatra was the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt, ruled for 21 years between 51 and 30 BC. She was a very intelligent woman, studying philosophy, math, history, astronomy, medicine, and oratory. She can speak 7 different languages, and is also the first person in her family to learn how to communicate in Egyptian without an interpreter. She lives in Alexandria, which is famous for the Library of Alexandria. Her achievements make her the lover of 2 of the most famous Roman generals of her time, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony.
Her father, Ptolemy XII, fled to Rome with his daughter because of financial trouble.
Cleopatra started to rule Egypt at the age of 17 after her father's death with her brother, who is also her husband, Ptolemy XIII, when he was only 13 years old. However, she did not intend to share the throne with him, so during this time, there was a big conflict between Cleopatra and Ptolemy to protect their power. Then, when she was 21, Ptolemy forced Cleopatra to leave Alexandria and went into exile in Syria, but she built up her own army. At the time, Pompey went to Egypt after losing a battle with Julius Caesar, but then he was killed by Ptolemy. When Caesar arrived, he met Cleopatra. She had a fling with the great Julius Caesar in order to seek help from him. With Caesar's support, Ptolemy was assassinated in the Battle of Nile. Cleopatra continued to be the queen of Egypt and married to her another brother, Ptolemy XIV, but then he also died for a mysterious reason. She had one son with Julius Caesar, Caesarion. Then they came to Rome. She was welcomed by Caesar. He even built up a statue of her in the church despite the opposition from the citizens.
The theater of Pompey was located in Rome, where the Senate negotiations took place. A group of politicians were jealous of Julius Caesar's popularity and arrogance. Then they planned to assassinate him at the Pompey theater, stabbing him to death. After Caesar's death in 44 BC, Cleopatra quickly returned to Egypt. Mark Antony was also in love with Cleopatra, but he didn't get close to her when Caesar was still alive. Cleopatra knew it, so after Caesar's death, she came up with a relationship with Mark Antony. They were in the relationship, and 2 of them became powerful.
Mark Antony chose to stay in Egypt with Cleopatra instead of with his wife Octavian, who is Octavian's sister. Cleopatra and Mark Antony had 3 children together, 2 sons named Alexander Helios and Ptolemy Philadelphus, and a daughter named Cleopatra Selene too. Soon after, Octavian planned to assassinate Antony in order to cut off all contact with Mark Antony and with it, eliminate a strong opponent taking control of the Roman Empire. Mark Antony defeated by Octavian forces. He committed suicide after the war.
The war was called the Battle of Alexandria. Octavian imprisoned Cleopatra and Mark Antony's 3 children. Cleopatra tried to seduce Octavian, but he resisted her charm. Finally, she gave up hope when she thought about losing her kingdom. Then she committed suicide by killing herself with a snake, which led to the downfall of the Ptolemy's dynasty after her death.
There have been many controversial arguments about this woman's life. We cannot deny a fact that she used all the manpower to achieve what she wants. However, she also has enough abilities and intelligence to accomplish them.
Đẹp quá. À. Làm gì nữa đi mẹ?
Oh, hello. Here we are, back in the old UK. I'm at the British Museum at the extensive Egyptian antiquities exhibits, which I might add definitely were not stolen. To finish our program tonight, we are going to examine the Queen Mother herself, Elizabeth I. Enjoy. I'm standing in front of the famous Tower of London, where the evil Queen Mary, Bloody Mary if you like, imprisoned her wee bonny sister, Elizabeth I. And I'm going to introduce our next chapter next to this iconic landmark. Enjoy.
Elizabeth is the daughter of King Henry VIII with his second wife Anne Boleyn. She was born in September 7, 1533 in Greenwich, New London. Before her 3rd birthday, her mom was beheaded by her own father on charges of adultery and treason. Even though Elizabeth I is Mary's half-sister, still Elizabeth was imprisoned by her own sister just because Mary feared that Elizabeth was plotting against her. Elizabeth was locked up in the tower with other prisoners, but then later she was released. Mary was also a temptation for potential invaders such as Philip II. In a letter of 1586 to Mary, Elizabeth wrote, "You have planned to take my life and ruin my kingdom. I never proceeded so harshly against you." Despite Elizabeth's reluctance to take drastic action on the insistence of Parliament and her advisers, Mary was tried, found guilty, and executed in 1587. After Mary Tudor, also known as Bloody Mary, died on November 17, 1558, Elizabeth gained access to the throne and became queen. She came to the throne at the age of 25 in 1558. Elizabeth reminded her audience of the coronation procedures, in which she was symbolically wedded to her realm by receiving the coronation ring.
Oh my God! No, I couldn't. I reject this marriage. No, we cannot. I love my country so much. Sorry.
Because thou much reject my proposal, we will invade England as a revenge.
In 1588, after years of preparation, Philip II of Spain decided to sail with his men, navy and army. There were around 30,000 men on the ships. They sailed through the English Channel. Elizabeth was known as the Virgin Queen since she didn't marry anyone. When she gave her first speech in Parliament in 1559, she announced that it would be more suitable for her to live and die a virgin.